Hello and welcome back to our continuing discussion on consumer behavior from our textbook Introductory Macroeconomics for class 11. The concepts that you learn today are normal and inferior goods. What's the difference between these two? Also, the difference between substitutes and complementary goods. And also, after learning demand and law of demand and demand curve, today we'll learn about the changes in demand. It can be increase and decrease in demand, and expansion and contraction of demand. These are the points we should keep in mind. So let's first go to the meaning of commodities that are normal and commodities that are inferior. So we all know that when we buy goods, we look at the price because other factors are given, they remain the same, they do not change. So that's why whenever there's a change in price, change mean increase or decrease, demand will respond to it. That's why we also have the demand curve, which slopes downward from the left to the right. We'll come back to that. But at the moment, let's say that we also know that there are other factors such as income that determines our demand. So let's for a moment say that demand depends on income of the consumer. Consumer demands depends on the income of the consumer. We all know when we have more money, we tend to want more things, we tend to buy more things. And the opposite is when we have less money, we demand less. Let's say the price, whatever the price, it remains the same. Whatever to be the price, our demand will be influenced by the income that we have. Okay, so it's always the case for most goods that the quantity that we buy, the quantity that we choose increases as consumers' income increases. Like I've said, you have more money, you tend to buy more things. And decreases as the consumer's income decreases. You have less money, you buy less. You don't have money, how can you buy? So these are the demand for the goods that are normal, things that we tend to use every day. So for normal goods, we buy more when we have more money, we buy less when we have less money. That's how money income influence our demand. That's normal goods. So demand and income, they move in the same direction. Same direction meaning more income, more demand. Same direction, more. Less income, less demand. That's normal goods. However, let's go to the second case where there are goods that you demand for them move in the opposite direction of the income that you have. Demand, we say, depends on income. But in this case, when there is a rise in income, an increase in income, instead of you demand more because you have more money, you do the opposite, you demand less. Such goods are called inferior goods. When you have less money, you demand them, your demand for them is high. But as income increases, if you have more income, the demand for these inferior goods falls. But if you have less income, demand for inferior goods rises. That means when you're poor, you consume more of them. When you're becoming richer and richer, you don't want to consume them anymore. You buy other things. Examples are low quality food that you buy when you don't have money. When you have money, you don't want to buy those type of foods like coarse cereals. You want to buy better quality goods. So that's why more money, less demand for these goods. So The relation between demand and income is opposite. It's not in the same direction. Okay. These inferior goods are also sometimes called Giffen goods. Giffen is the name of a person, Sir Robert Giffen. So that's why he explained about these type of goods. So such goods are called Giffen good or inferior goods. But goods, any goods, a good can be normal good for the consumer at some levels of income. For when you are having low level of income, say poor people, it's normal for them to buy low quality food. Not it? So the same commodity is normal to people having that level of income. But it can become inferior as you have more income. Like this low quality food. It's inferior goods, but while you don't have money for you at that time, it's normal. But when you have you more money, that same commodity, that same good, same food becoming inferior. So this same commodity can change from normal to inferior depending on the money that you have. That's the first distinction between goods of normal and inferior quality. Now let's look at goods that are substitutes and goods that are complements. Goods which are consumed together are called consumer goods. When you have to use one, you need the other. You need two at a time. Example like tea and sugar. How can you have tea without sugar for majority of people? Shoes and socks, pen and ink. These are used together. So increasing the price of one, say increasing the price of sugar is likely to decrease demand for tea. When sugar price is increasing, tea becoming costly. So that's why people decrease the demand for tea. On the other hand, the decrease in the price of sugar, which is commodity A, because it has becoming cheaper, your demand for commodity B, which is tea, increases. Not it, because these two are consumed together. So a decrease in one leads to an increase of the other, or the increase in the price of one leads to a decrease in the demand for other. So demand for goods which are complementary moves in the opposite direction, because a decrease in the price of one commodity one will not lead to a decrease in demand but will lead to an increase opposite, decrease in the price of one, increase in demand for two, number two commodity. Or the opposite, increase in the price of commodity A, which is sugar, it will increase the demand for commodity B, moves in the opposite direction. However, there are goods that are not consumed together, like tea and coffee. You don't need to have two at a time, not like tea and sugar. But here these are called substitute. When you have one, you choose, you forego the other. Okay, so if the price of coffee increases, you shift to tea, because when you go and ask for coffee, the price increase from 5 to 10, say for example, but the price of tea remains the same. Hence, since tea is a substitute, it remains the same, whereas coffee has increased, you consume tea, and the demand for tea will go up. On the other hand, if the price of coffee decreases, the coffee now has becoming cheaper, but price of tea remains the same. But because coffee is becoming cheaper, people would forgo tea and go for coffee. So the demand moves in the directions, opposite direction, move in the direction, same direction, I mean to say, of the price of its substitutes. Okay, demand moves in the substitution in the price of the substitute. That means if the price of tea is high, consumption of coffee increases. If the price of coffee is um if the price of tea is high, demand for coffee will increase. That's the case of substitute, because you forgo one and go for the other that are cheaper, affordable. Now, those are the two types of goods, substitution, complementary, inferior, and normal goods. Let's go back to demand. We have learned about demand, and we all know that demand depends on price. It's not a demand depends on price. You have price, you have demand. How much is the price will influence demand. How many you buy, what is the price. The price keeps on changing, sometimes high, sometimes low. And that's the first thing that we've learned. And we have also say that even though demand is a function of many factors like income, like price of related products, like taste and preference, and all thing else, we assume them to remain the same. It's not it. But before this, we have also said, let's for the moment say the income remains the same, whereas the price remain the same, whereas let's change the income, and we have seen inferior and normal goods. So what I want to remind you is that we have learned about the demand curve, which we derive from the relationship between the price and demand, which is negative. Not it. Okay, but we have also learned that if we go back to the income, which is the determinant of demand, that demand depends on income. We have seen that for normal goods, the demand curve will shift to the right. For inferior goods, the demand curve will shift to the left. That means the demand curve you can have two or three demand curves. It depends on the types of goods, because if you have more income, we have learned, you don't consume inferior anymore, you go for normal. So if there is an increase in income, you would demand more for normal. So that's why we'll have a shift in demand curve from the left to the right. Whereas you have also learned that if you have more income, your demand for inferior goods will shift to the left. Means you don't demand them more anymore like before, because you have more income. What I want to say is that demand, even though you have one demand curve, but it can be uh, changed. It can shift to the left, to the right, depends on other factors, depends on income, depends on taste, depends on preference. It's not it. That's about what we have to remember. We have to remember this assumption. Sometimes we say, to arrive at a demand curve, demand should depend on price. That's what we have sticked into. But we also say, let's a moment think that demand depends on income. Let's forget the price for simplicity of explaining the shift in demand curve. Okay, so what we want to learn from here is that um, if there is an increase in the price of substitute goods, substitute we have learned, the demand curve shift rightwards, like I've said, from the existing one D to the new one, which is to the right of the existing, the old one, we can say. So increase in the price of substitute, the demand curve will shift to the right, because you understand that increase in the price of tea, you would go for coffee. Not it. But on the other hand, increase in the price of complementary, like tea and sugar now, increase in the price of tea in the price of sugar, your demand for tea will automatically decline, so the demand curve will shift backwards. So demand curve can shift due to the change in price, due to the change in income. It can also shift due to the taste and preference. You liked before, now you don't like anymore. You don't favor anymore to that product. So that's why if you favor, it will shift to the right. If you are not favor anymore, it's not favorable anymore, you don't prefer it anymore, it will shift to the left. Okay, so whenever you buy more, it will shift to the right. Whenever you buy less, you shift to the left. You buy more because you like it, because it's cheap, because the price of other substitutes has increased. Can be many reasons, but it can shift to the left, it can shift to the right. Example given here is the case of ice cream in summer, because it's hot, so that's why you tend to buy more. It will shift to the right. Cold drink is cold, but even if it's during summer, it's hot, you want to have cold drinks, But if there is a revelation, there is a need to reveal in advertisement that this product is injurious to health, then people would think twice to consume because it's injurious. So that's why even though it's a cold drink during summer, people would not go for it. So that's demand will go shift to the left. Okay, so the point is demand depends on price. Other thing remains the same. But at the moment, let's try to change those things that remain the same. Let's keep the price constant. Let's do the opposite. We do see that if those factors change, then demand curve will also change. Okay, these are the two figures that indicate to you the change in demand. The figure A is the decrease in demand. You buy less. The thick blue, this is the demand curve, is the original. But because of certain reason, you tend to buy less, then you have a new demand curve. This is the case of a decrease in demand. First demand curve, second demand curve. It is not due to the change in price. You see from here, the price remains the same. The price can be 10 rupees, but you tend to buy from 5 to 1. You buy less. You buy less not because the price has fallen, not like in here, not like in the law of demand where you buy less from here to here, you buy less from 5, so to say the same example, to 1 because the price has increased from 5 to 10. Because the price has increased, then we buy less because it's becoming costly. You buy less. But here, you buy less, the price is the same. So the reason is not the price. The reasons are others. Other factors are also changing. So if we allow other factors to change, like we talk about substitute and complementary, then if you tend to buy less even at the same price, this is the case of shifting leftward, decrease. Figure B, the opposite. This is the original demand. This is the new demand, that you have a new demand curve shifting to the right. We have said earlier, shifting to the right. It can be due to substitutes. It can be due to complement. Is not it? So when it shifts to the right, you buy more from, say, same example, 1 to 5. You buy more not because the price has fallen, but the price remains the same. In the second case, the price remains the same at 10. 10 earlier you buy only 1, now 10 you buy 5. How is it possible to buy more even at the same price? So it's not because of the price, it maybe you have more income, or maybe you have preference, or maybe other reasons. But it is possible. So that's why these two, A and B, are changes in demand, which we call a decrease, shift to the left, and an increase in demand because it's shift to the right. You increase from 1 to 5 here, you decrease from 5 to 1. Price remain the same, price remain the same. Called a case of increase and decrease in demand. You should not be confused with the one that we derived from the demand curve. Earlier we say that if the price is 10, then we buy less, only 1. If the price falls, then we buy more. Like in this case, price is 10, you buy 1. If the price is 5, then you shift from this point to this point, you buy 5 because it has becoming cheaper. You buy more. So you shift from the same curve from the high level to low level. You buy this more. So this is the case of also buying more, like this case. Here also you buy more, but the difference is that here you have two curves, here you have only one curve. Here the reason is other factors, here the reason is because the fall in the price. You buy more because of the fall in the price, not other factors. So if you buy more because of the price has fallen down, buy more at low price, that's the law of demand. This is called the expansion of demand. But if the case is this, initially you buy 5 pieces at 5 rupees. 5 rupees you buy 5 number of anything, it can be 5 chocolates. But if so to say the price increased to 10, you can't buy 5 anymore, it increased to 10. Now you buy only one, you consume only one. So earlier you buy here 5 rupees, 5 numbers. Now suddenly the prices increase, so you have to buy less. So that's why you shift from the lower level to the upper level. This is the case of also buying less but at higher price, not like this one where you buy less even at the same price. This you have in here, you have two curves because of the change in other factors. But here you buy less, you know the factor is because the price has becoming costly from 5 to 10, has risen from 5 to 10. So you buy less because of the reason of the price. This is called contraction in demand. Okay, so these are the 4 changes in demand. So you should not be confused. You try to understand between expansion and increase, contraction and decrease. You compare between two curves and one curve. So let me conclude by looking at here the demand curve. We all know, we all have learned that it is a graphical presentation of demand function. Demand is a function of price and other things, is not it? But we say let's keep other things constant, concentrate on price. Higher price, demand is less. Higher price, demand is less. Lower price, demand is more. This price is 10. This price is 5. So 5 you demand less. Um, at low price you demand more. Isn't it? So this is the case of movement along the demand curve, same demand curve. Not it. You have only one curve, so that's why you have an expansion and contraction. Whereas in here we say that there is a shift in demand curve. It can shift to the right, it can shift to the left. If it shifts to the right, we call increase. If it shifts to the left, we call decrease. But here, the reason is the main factors that are responsible is changes in those other factors, not because of the price. Due to the price, not due to the price, due to the other factors. So demand can be expansion, contraction, can be increase, decrease. That's about increase and decrease in demand, expansion, contraction in demand.